Okay, good evening and welcome to Mindful Life 221. I am your host Nathan Springer. Thank you for joining me. It is the 9th of the 5th month 2023 and I'm streaming live right now on Instagram, on TikTok and on YouTube. Wherever you are viewing this, make sure you hit that like button, double tap that screen. If you are over there on TikTok, that's how the like is done over there. Make sure you hit that like button. It really does help the algorithm send out the notification to more people and let more people jump inside of the live chat. And you can jump in the live chat over there on TikTok. Anywhere you can jump in the live chat, but most of the chat occurs over there on TikTok. This evening, well, we're talking about royal families. And as I was saying, this came to me as there was the coronation of the King of the United Kingdom, the protector of the Commonwealth, and whatever other handles he has to his name. He was coronated in the week gone there. They're always trying to solve problems. Does always wonder if any of these politicians ever catch a bus. Yeah. So that's what we're trying to get into here, this whole monarchy business. And when I saw the criticisms that were leveled against the royal family, and I'm sure many people would be familiar with that because if you exist in the modern world, in this Western world, you've seen it. It's part of the popular culture now to look very critically at the generations gone before, and sometimes without a fair shake. Like, to me, I find it shameful when I see the amount of millennials seem like it's an in thing, it's a fad to go out there on social media and criticize their parents about Caribbean parents this and Caribbean parents. Okay, let's see how good you parent. When you reach 60 and your children are adults, let's see what they say about you. Until then, shut up and give the parents a break. So, sometimes the excessive criticisms of generations gone before it seems to be the in thing now. And many people criticizing the monarchy. Now, the monarchy has just criticisms to take because that's an institution that has spanned the course of centuries and has done quite a bit of atrocities in the name of this family and their legacy and their country. So, yes, there are some criticisms that can be leveled there. But many of the people, the form of the criticisms that I saw seem to be like if Britain is so archaic. They have a royal family that just dominates them. Such a shame on Britain. They're so backward. They have this group of people dominating them in their country. While we out here in the further Western world, good night positive radiation, we are advanced, we are more civilized people. We vote for our leaders. Our leaders are a republic. We are part of a republic. We don't have royal families that just stay there and take our money as if we are subjects and they are our rulers like that. No, by no means. Us in the West here don't function like that. Or do we? You see, I think England kind of has a good thing in a sense. Good night, Ricardo Jack. Part of the reason England has the royal family is because they have property rights. The royal family has owned some chunks of land, and because of the land that they own, it's tied up in some political things. So here's what you'll get to be the royal family, and we are allowed to use your land for what we want to use it for. So at least they have property rights reasons for why they could be the royal family. They have ownership on certain things that allow them to have that claim on being the royal family. But in other countries, if you look at even in the United States, how many people from the same family have been spinning in politics for decades? Or if you look in Trinidad, how many of the same names do you see calling over and over again in the politics, over and over again, and not only in direct politics as in an MP here or a minister here, but in areas where they are able to feed off the trough of the country. Positive, I saw that, and I think that's what we're going to be talking about for Tobago tomorrow. Tobago has never been that kind of scary violent, and it seems like 2 in 2 days that's alarming for Tobago. But jumping into these stories here, President gives husband, brother, senior counsel status. President Christine Kanglu has conferred the status of senior counsel on her husband, Kerwin Garcia, and her brother, Colin Kanglu. The president's husband and brother were among 17 attorneys given silk by her at a ceremony at President's House in St. Anne's on Monday. But many people have been complaining about this. I spoke about that bounty killer. I spoke about that. Good night, Nathan. What's your thoughts on the Rowley and Venezuela? I don't know what about Rowley and Venezuela you're talking about. What kind of power does the royal family have over British politics now? Well, you could think of a lot of the power that the royal family has as being kind of like our president. Now, and if some of the power that they do have, it's just not customary for them to enact that power. So they may have some veto power, they may have a lot of actual power if you look at the law books, but in terms of customs and traditions, it's not the norm. So like, for example, during the coronation, there was a pledge to be said by the subjects of the United Kingdom. A pledge of loyalty to the king, and it's kind of optional now. Now, in the olden days, I don't think it was an option to pledge that you're loyal to your king, but now, those things kind of just died down because of the culture. Trini Siren says the politicians are older than Trinidad's independence. I see that as a problem now more than ever. You see, that's just the issue. These politicians are like a royal family of our own. PM Defense Silk promotes procurement law. Now, in the Prime Minister defending the issuance of these senior counsel awards out here, the Prime Minister's defense plainly went back to the fact that Kamala Prasad-Bissessar issued herself with silk. He also addressed the concerns raised by opposition leader Kamala Prasad-Bissessar about relatives of President Christine Kanglu being conferred senior counsel status, stating that the process of selecting lawyers to carry the station of senior counsel dates back to 1964. He noted that the parameters for selection include, and he listed out the parameters for selection. Now, at the end of the day, the parameters for selection is being selected by the government. And what you realize with a lot of these norms and customs, that we have in our political system are by effect, or are in effect, recreating royal families. So the people who are in power have the power to issue power to more people. And who do you think they are going to issue more power to? So they who are in power get to issue senior counsel on the lawyers that they choose. So obviously the lawyers that they choose would be friends and family of them. And senior counsel status allows you to charge more. So over the years, all of the senior counsel would have been friends and family members of politicians and well-connected people. So they would naturally be the more powerful, the wealthier people. If you're looking for people to put into senior positions in the legal field, you would look for people who are senior counsel and above. So if senior counsel is awarded based on nepotism, based on connection, then all of the senior law positions where you would look for senior counsel in terms of determining that would also be issued based on nepotism. And therefore, basically, the entire law field is then compromised and heavily lopsided to be based upon nepotism. Those at the top of the law field are those with family members at the top of the political field. And it just feeds into each other. Isn't it surprising then that most of the top politicians are lawyers? Absolute shocker. But the Prime Minister, in defending the process, he basically said that, well, Kamala Prasad-Bissessar did it too. That's why we were upset with her. And the thing is, he's right, but that shows the whole problem with the process in and of itself. That Mrs. Prasad-Bissessar could have done the same thing, and now they are basically repeating some of the same things too. And the thing is, it's not just about giving people silk. Gopi Singh complains about legal cartel. Same lawyers getting state briefs. Is there a conflict of interest if Kerwin Garcia, the husband of this country's president, Christine Kangaloo, is paid state funds for state legal briefs while he's a member of the household of the president? This was the question asked by former UNC Minister and Member of Parliament Dr. Tim Gopi Singh at the opposition's media briefing on Sunday. Gopi Singh made the comment about Garcia's hefty legal fees amounting to over $1 billion paid to attorneys between 2015 and 2023. You see, it's not just the silk. It's not just the awarding of the senior counsel badge. It's that when the government decides that, okay, we want to appeal this firearms dealer business, the firearms dealer that we reportedly, allegedly abducted, the judge said this whole thing was ridiculous and he threw it out, but we want to appeal that. How do you think they appeal it? Well, an outside lawyer. And we would have to get a senior counsel, you know. It must be a senior lawyer to do this case. And then remember, all of these senior counsel, all of these senior lawyers are selected from their friends and families anyhow. So they select their friends and family members to be in the position, and then they select those same people they chose to be in the position to be paid for that position. And then they say, well, we have no other choice. That's the people we have to pay. Those are the ones in that position. And don't think it's just in the legal field. Don't think it's just in the legal field. I was reading an interesting article here this past week. Speaker unmoved by child's call for recusal. Speaker Bridget Anisette George, noted a call by Naparima MP Rodney Charles that she recused herself from chairing the Standing Finance Committee of the House of Representatives after the committee briefly touched on expenditure for the Paria Commission of Inquiry. Charles made his claim before the committee approved a supplementation for the committee. He claimed that Anisette George may have a conflict of interest as the committee discussed fees to be paid to the Paria Commission of Inquiry. The inquiry relates to the deaths of the divers. Anisette George's husband, Newman George, is the company's chairman. So, the chairman of the State Oil and Gas Company, his wife is the Speaker of the House. Okay. The Speaker of the lower house has now been put as the president. Her husband and brother were given senior counsel status, and the husband, at least, we're not sure about how much the brother gets, but the husband at least gets millions upon millions in state briefs. Isn't this kind of the same thing like monarchy, where you have just families at the top? Because bear in mind, in a monarchy, monarchies aren't run by a single family. They are royal families and their relatives and the members of the courts and the noble families. We have the noble families up there. We have the noble families up there. They get all the positions. Like, how much of a statistical coincidence would it be that the person who is most fit to be the Speaker of the House in Trinidad and Tobago marries the person who is most fit to be the chairman of the oil company? Like, what kind of statistical improbability would that be? RL says, and I had to cut grass with my law degree because I can't get an interview or call. That's the life. It's what was the statement made by this comedian? It's a small circle and you're not in it, or something to that effect. And I was just reading about the expenditure the Prime Minister and his office had for the symposium on crime. You know, they discussed crime and solutions for crime. And you see here exactly how being friends and family, being inside of the royal family, you see exactly how you benefit. OPM spends $200,000 on social media monitoring website for CARICOM symposium. The bigger problem is how this silk affect the country as a whole when the law system frees I'm not sure what you're saying there on the NC, but I don't know if that's a bigger problem. The Office of the Prime Minister spent $200,000 on website content and social media monitoring for the recent CARICOM Crime Symposium held in Port of Spain. Another $200,000 was spent on photography and video editing, and $800,000 on set design, banners and signage. Minister in the Office of the Prime Minister, Stuart Young, gave the breakdown to Parliament's Standing Finance Committee today, saying it formed part of what was deemed support expenses. No details were given on who got the contracts. Of course, no details were given on who got the contracts. Young said the Office of the Prime Minister spent $1.5 million on the symposium called Violence as a Public Health Issue, the Crime Challenge, held at the Hyatt Regency Port of Spain on April 17 to 18, 2023. He said another $1.8 million accounted for support expenses for a total spending of $3.4 million. He gave the breakdown as follows. $5,000 on invitations. If you have a company that prints invitations, 5,000 like that. $60,000 for dinner. Now I suppose that might go to Hyatt, but you might be surprised there might have been an outside caterer involved also. So you pay Hyatt for their money, but they also paid the outside caterer. Don't be surprised with that. $25,000 for team uniforms. They come to discuss crime, but $25,000 needs to be spent to get uniforms for the team. Uniforms for the team. So if you have your t-shirt printing or t-shirt embroidering company to make those uniforms, $25,000. $140,000 on an event planner. Let me read that again. 140,000 on an event planner. I think I might rather William, Charles and them boys come and just take your royal money and done. Like, let's be honest about it. You don't have to hire your niece as an event planner for political events. We don't have to go through that. You're just the royal family. We give you the money and you live in the castle and you come and you tell us, you give us a greeting and make us feel happy on Christmas. Like, don't mama guy us with it. Don't mama guy us with it now, gosh. $50,000 for the display of NGOs. $50,000 for display. $100,000 for website content development. Does anyone have a link to this crime symposium website? Might I take a gander? Might I take a little peek and see what $100,000 got us? $200,000 for photography and video editing. This is for crime. This is for crime. Good night, Yugesh. This is for crime, right? We went there to discuss crime. I think they went to do a crime on the country. Personally, that crime symposium was a crime perpetrated on the country itself. $200,000 for photography and video editing. $800,000 for set design, banners, signage. $800,000 for set design, banners, signage. Yes. 800, not just the banners, you get. Oh gosh, it's not 800,000 for banners. No. It's not 800,000 for banners, you get. It's for the banners, for the set design and for signage. Now, personally, I think banners should be included in signage. And banners, signage. You notice, you notice they repeat themselves there. The set design includes the signage. The signage includes the banners. But they say, you're paying us for set design, signage, and banners, which are all subgroups of the same thing. $50,000 for meals for the secretariat. That's separate from the $60,000 for dinner. There's $50,000 for meals for the secretariat. I wonder how much food $50,000 gets you. RL says, I have no issue with money spent, but how much of that money went to small businesses and young people? Well, RL, you have to follow the point I've been making since the beginning. The point I've been making is that we have our own royal families in all countries. In all of our countries, we have our own royal families. We could look down. We could look down if we want on the United Kingdom and their backward coronation of their king, but our kings and princes are paying each other $800,000 to design banners. They're extracting money from us and paying it to themselves. That's the same thing that the royal family does. The same thing that people are angry about royal families for. We have the same thing happening here. Good luck you getting into the area to get that 800,000 set design banners and signage contract. Good luck. Or would that be given in a similar way like the silk is given out to husband and brother, or to like how the chairman and the speaker of the house? $30,000 for the coordinator of the National Secretariat. Now listen to this bit. At the end, this is at the end, and they just kind of stick this in there. $300,000 contingency, which the minister said may or may not have been used. So $300,000 extra there, and we might or might not have spent it. Maybe, maybe not. You know, maybe. The price of a Hilux. Somebody could have bought a Hilux, or maybe we kept it. We don't know. The 300,000 contingency may or may not have been used. Like, what are you telling us? At the two-day symposium, CARICOM leaders declared a move to tackle the importation of guns into the region. So, we spent all of this money. On a crime symposium to come out at the end. These are official figures. Yes, they are official figures. Mr. Face, could you please not jump in the discussion without understanding the discussion? We're talking about the fact of that very same thing, nepotism in our country. The fact that we as a country exist in a very similar scenario to the United Kingdom with a royal family. We have royal families. We have royalty that exists there and extract wealth from us and exist in portfolios above us where they just keep perpetuating themselves and their family members into those portfolios. You are about 3 stories late into this live, Mr. Humphreys. If you're late, you can feel free to head over to the YouTube channel, Nathan Springer, over there on YouTube, and you can subscribe there. You could catch the live. You could catch the live on repeat. You could catch the live previously. So, all of this symposium, the 2 days, all of this money spent, and at the end, the conclusion after all of this money, the value we earned was a declaration from CARICOM. Let me read this declaration and tell me if you feel your how much was the total? 3.4 million. When I read this declaration for you, and I'm going to attempt to articulate it properly, pronounce the words well, so that you can get your $3.4 million worth out of this declaration. Tell me if all of you out there across Trinidad and Tobago, maybe some other CARICOM listeners, feel the worth of the $3.4 million. Let me load down the music. Load down the music, and I'll take a little sip before that. The declaration went like this. We declare a war on guns to combat the illegal trade, which provides the weapons that contribute significantly to crime and violence in our region, causing death, disabilities, and compromising the safety of our citizens. We call on the United States of America to join the Caribbean in our war on guns and urgently adopt and take action to stop the illegal exportation of firearms and ammunition into the Caribbean. You all felt that 3.4 million? You all felt it? That 3.4 million, did you feel the essence roll over you? Did you feel the value of those words caress your body as it went through the speakers? How do they get permission to spend all that money? Because they are the government. Yes, that's it. That was the declaration. I read the declaration there. They declared that. That was the declaration. Yeah, how they get the permission to spend that money? They are the government. That's how they get the permission to spend that money. And that's why I keep telling people, every time, if there's an option to give the government more power or take away some power from the government, sir, 99.9% times choose to take power away from them. And so regularly in Trinidad and Tobago, we have the case where, you know, we want more things. We want more things. We want the government to help us. Why the government don't do this? Why the government doesn't do that? Why the government doesn't, and why the government doesn't? Not understanding sometimes that what we're asking for is to give the government more power. Now, a while back, I was doing just some, you know, casual reading, because on this whole topic of the inner workings of a lot of these things and how all of them seem to be related to each other. They're all friends with each other and they all know each other and all of that. And then I was realizing that the Attorney General that was recently hired, the Mr. Reginald Amo, he was previously the lawyer for the Prime Minister. So, you know, it's all within the group. So I was reading about Mr. Amo and his history, and very interestingly, I saw he had a company. His company did, what do they call this in legal work, where they discuss like an arbitration, like negotiation. I forgot the name of the company. And the company had directors in it. He owned a private company with directors. And what would you know, one of the directors of Mr. Amo's company was one of the independent senators. An independent senator and Mr. Amo are directors of the same company. I was like, very interesting. And then that very same independent senator I saw recently, he got a silk too. Vieira, I'm still independent. I did not beg or pay for silk. Independent Senator Anthony Vieira Senior Counsel has lashed back at opposition MP Dr. Rilal Munlal, who is questioning his impartiality now that he has been gifted silk as an attorney. Nothing changes. My impartiality and integrity are still intact, Vieira told the Newsday in a phone interview. I did not beg for this. I did not pay for this. I am not indebted to anybody. I simply applied. They could have said yay or nay. Lawyers awarded the status of senior counsel, the post-independence equivalent of a Queen's or now King's Counsel, are called silk because of the silk legal gowns they are entitled to wear. Yeah. So it's all in the group. Wetback says Nana Anthony is really an independent senator. I believe it. Wetback, I am not debating his independence, you know. I am not debating whether he is an independent person truly or not. That's not the question I have. The point I am making is that almost all of the high-level jobs in the country seem to all be given out to people within the same familial and friend circle. That's the point I am making. Not about whether he's independent or not. The point is, you're not in that circle of friends. And that is how the country is run. Isle says one set of old people. Sir says, isn't there anything that can be done legally to have more control over the income tax expenditure? Not really. Well, get yourself in the circle, Mr. Humface says. Okay. Good luck. Good luck, good luck, good luck trying to do that. Because how do you just get yourself in the circle, Mr. Humface? That's like you're talking to a subject in the United Kingdom who's complaining about the monarchy, and I don't like the fact that we spend all of this money on this royal family, and I don't like that. And you're like, well, go become the royal family. If you don't like it, go become the royal family yourself. Great advice, sir. Great advice, exceptional. Kervon says they are all conflicted and connected. The parties are simply two cliques writ large. Yep, this country population is too small to get totally independent people to serve. I am not speaking about totally independent people at all, Just Ada. It's not about their independence at all. It's not speaking about their independence. It's speaking about their familial and friendship links. I just witnessed how hopeless the police service is, Rudra Kaulesa says. How did you witness that, sir? And right there is the problem. We rather complain. Okay, Mr. Humface, if you notice, I don't complain really here. We talk and discuss. Mr. Humface, I find you have a default defense for the powers that be. You are what I would call, or those of us on the more libertarian freedom edge, you are what I would call a statist. You love that daddy government. I witnessed 4 crimes in 30 minutes. Where was that, Rudra? Where was that? I called the police station 2 minutes away to report a crime. What is happening at the moment? Dream Chaser says, well, I think that country is run on the poor and the middle class. Without them, the rich can't grow. That's pretty much true. Most countries are run on the middle class. The middle class are the ones who pay the most consequence for nearly everything in the country. And they said they are out of the jurisdiction. You're saying nothing new about the police there. I don't care for the government. I just learn how to work the system. Those two things are antithetical to each other. That's like saying, I don't care for water. I just learn how to swim. I don't care for aerodynamics. I just learn how to fly. Do you think that any politicians attended the redemption concert, and why? I don't know. I have no idea what that's a very out of left field question. I don't even understand where that goes, but I don't know. I don't have the personal calendar of politicians. I don't see why not. And Londonville Old Road. Well, Londonville Old Road is is known to have some activity. We have to find a way to get a little control on government spending. I would like to find that way too. I would really like to find that way too, but it's difficult. It's difficult, and a part of the reason has to do with the culture of Trinidad and Tobago. Has to do with the culture of Trinidad and Tobago, the fact that many of us like the gifts from the government. So the government has to spend a lot to give us the gifts that we like, so we excuse the government spending, saying that. Him saying he learned how to work the system is exactly how they want him to think, so they continue. Exactly. I don't care about the government. I just learn how to work the system. So all the politicians are like, you are the perfect guy. Yes, don't care about us. Leave us in the very same positions we are in. Don't touch our positions. Don't let anyone question the positions we are in. You just work it within the system. So, you are brilliant. You are such a smart guy. I even went to report it to the right police station in person, and they didn't come 1 hour. That's a complaint you hear very regularly about the police. I was reading a story today out of Felicity. The neighborhood watching Felicity, they were noticing a car speeding down the road. The car hit 2 humps, shake, then it hit 2 humps, and a wheel broke and it crashed. The driver ran out of the car. Another man kind of fell out of the car. When they went to help, they recognized the car doesn't have a key in the ignition, so they figured the car was stolen. They called the police station. The police tell them, Lego the men, they don't have any cars. Imagine that. You caught two car thieves inside of your community. You call the police say, release them. We don't have any cars to come. Thankfully, they did not release them. They called a sergeant that they knew personally and got a vehicle to come from another post, and eventually they caught the 2 men. But yeah, that's what happens in Trinidad. That's why when officers come inside of the life, and I'll say it every day, I'll say it over and over, when officers come inside of the life to gaslight the public and make it seem like the police are indeed the ones really trying the hardest inside of Trinidad and Tobago, I'm like, come on, we live here. We know that's not true. Marvin Sargent says, I was burying them right there. Well, if you buried them right there, remember, the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, when speaking about the possibility of stand your ground laws, said that the punishment for predial larceny shouldn't be death. So it seems like he has a view that, you should be really tempered in how you deal with the bandits. So maybe you might have gotten yourself in trouble burying them right there. Curtly Ned says Trinidad really is not a real place. Yes, over 5 decades, nothing changed, and the same repetitive discussions taking place. Okay, Mr. Humphreys, who have you heard discussing the same things in the same way that I have discussed them? You're saying the repetitive discussions. Where have you heard the same discussions I am having right now about Mr. Vieira, Mr. Amo, about the silk and their link, about linking it to the royal families and the monarchies in United Kingdom? Where did you see that before? Or are you just talking rum shop talk? Marvin Sargent says, so a man must rub me when I'm working hard every day and getting cussed from my boss? Sir, I understand that. Mr. Humphreys have the solutions. Yes, his solution is to leave it like it is. I think Mr. Humphreys is the representative of the politicians. I think the politicians paid him. You notice he doesn't even have a name on his profile. The politicians paid him to go out there into social media and make sure in every conversation you tell everyone, leave things as is. No more discussing the issues. We are fed up discussing the issues. Let's not discuss it anymore. Let's just work with the system as is. I had $5,000 worth of goods stolen from me and got no assistance from the police. Tony No Angel says, I'm not surprised. I am not surprised at all. That's a regular occurrence in Trinidad and Tobago. Part of it has to do with the fact that some police are understaffed, and then part of it has to do with the fact that some police don't care, and then part of it has to do with the fact that some police are actively corrupt. So it's a difficult position. Who do we get to help us? Truth is, most Trinidadian like it this way because for that fet, it was oversold. For what fet? Redemption? I'm not sure the link between what you're talking about. And it says, bro, you know what is the welcome manner for Trinidad and Tobago in immigration? In immigration, do I know what it is? Not sure. Not sure if I remember so directly. What is it? That's a little above 21 days pay for me. Wow. Well, you listen, you're a random unknown person on the internet today. You could say what you want, you know, Mr. Humphreys. You could say that you're Bill Gates and no one could deny you that. Sir, you make $1 million a week. You Mr. Random Guy on the internet. Welcome to Carib Country with a bottle of Carib. Huh. Wow. Well, I guess Carib paid well for it. Tony No Angel says, what about this new gas was getting? This new gas we getting, burning out so fast, paying more for lesser quality. I have heard that, but I don't know if it's true. I haven't seen anyone do an experiment to verify if the new gas is actually burning faster than the others. I don't know that necessarily being true, but yeah, I've heard it. I have heard it. It's not impossible. It's not impossible to change the constitution or constituents of gas and make a different compound that burns differently, but I don't know that to be true. Now, on the crime situation, I remember discussing this previously. I remember discussing this previously and saying that it really seems to me that the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, when they have recommendations for the people of Trinidad, their solutions for the people is always the turtle strategy. I said that. I don't know if any of you were in the live when I spoke about that. The solutions given by our security forces nearly always seems to be the turtle strategy, where what you aim to do is get inside of your shell. You have no offensive ability. You're trying to get in there and hope for the best. Hope that your shell is hard enough to take the licks for the moment. I think that's a losing strategy. I don't think you can actually win like that. You just make it a matter of time before you lose everything. That's inevitably what happens there. It encourages cowardice, and I don't think that's the manner that we should be at, the level that we should be at in interacting with each other. I don't think so. I think defense should be an active, even offense-related thing. The bandits are getting more desperate. That's why the house invasions are increasing. Sir says, now they're saying to build a safe room in your house. Exactly, sir. That's exactly the story I was going to. When I read this, I was like, it sounds pretty much precisely like I said. Former cop urges citizens to build safe rooms. Law-abiding citizens are being advised to build a safe room inside their homes so they can hide in the event of a home invasion. A safe room, also known as a panic room, is a fortified room that is installed in a private residence or business to provide a safe shelter or hiding place for the inhabitants. In the event of a break-in, home invasion, tornado, terror attack, or other threat, the advice to install safe rooms came from retired Senior Superintendent Kenny McIntyre during a town meeting at Calcutta Road number 2 on Sunday, May 7th. The meeting was called by Couva South MP Rudy Indarsing following a spate of robberies and the firebombing of a supermarket in the community last Friday. Now, to say a firebombing of a supermarket kind of makes the situation seem lesser than it is. It wasn't the firebombing of a supermarket. The owner of the supermarket was firebombed inside of the supermarket with it too. They will charge you more property tax by facts. The worth of your security room, of your safety room, will go towards your property tax because it will increase your property value. That's true. McIntyre, within your household, secure a little room into which you can retreat as a place of safety in the event of home invasions. I am talking about a small prison, right round, block round, vent on top, a steel door without bars, just flush to lock inside. He explained. Inside, you must have 3 or 4 bottles of water, 2 or 3 packs of cricks, a flashlight, and a cell phone. A small cell phone, that is, if you have to stay there for a period of time. That will buy some time and give you a certain level of safety, the former cop said. Like, you all serious? Tony the ambassador says that can't be real advice, sir. Sir, that's a senior police giving that advice. A senior police. Build a room with steel doors, vent blocks on top, with water and cricks and a small phone on the inside. Listen. First off, 5.56 ammo that these fellas using outer road, going through many steel doors, just so you know. Some of those rounds, the 5.56 and what is the next one, the 7.72, some of those rounds are armor piercing. They will go through steel. If you lock yourself in a room in a country where the police do not respond, load the block with concrete, it won't go through. I didn't say the blocks, I said steel. 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 As I was saying, no. If you lock yourself in a room in a country where there isn't a quick police response, they will just break open the room. A Chinese grocery down my side had a storeroom broken into. The guys went to the back, spent their good time with a blowtorch and burnt a hole in their steel security door and went into the storeroom. Can you imagine you are trapped inside of a 10 by 10, 12 by 12 concrete box? He said make a vent block on top. Now, I think that's a bad idea. You don't want a vent block on top. That's giving people a way to throw things inside of the room. But imagine you're trapped inside of there. And then you hear a tank rolling. Then you hear and you feel the door start to heat up. By the way, I feel, as I'm saying that, if they go to blow torch down your door, before they even cut a hole through the door, the heat that door might make inside of the room, you might be begging them to open the door for you. Because the door going to get so hot and all that heat is going to be trapped inside of that room with you. Bruh. As a panic room, panic rooms make a lot of sense if you have a gun. If you have a weapon, a panic room makes some sense. If you're just there as a sitting duck in a country where the police could not respond for a couple hours, that sounds like a bad idea. Say the solution by a gun, I'm afraid to say it. Well, Mr. Humphreys, that solution you're talking about could be illegal. And I'm not going to advise anyone to do something illegal. Go get your firearm user's license. You're not going to catch me out like that. So you all feds on the live looking to catch me out like that, recommending people do illegal stuff. No. Get your legal firearms. But what I am saying is that I think the government should be looking to make it easier for people to get their firearms. Like, really, the discussion reached getting a jail inside of your house instead of you being able to actively protect yourself. Like, really, do you think it makes more sense we build a jail inside of our homes instead of getting the great equalizer, as they call it? I remember when I made that video, someone in the comments said no one wants to be in a shootout in their own home. And you're right, no one wants to be in a shootout in their own home. But I'm sure if you gave people an option, be in a shootout in your own home or go hide in a safe room and pray that the guys don't come with a blowtorch, I bet you they choose the shootout every time. Honestly, we can't have very many people walking around with illegal firearms. Walking around with a legal firearm isn't necessarily the same as owning a legal firearm. Having a license to carry isn't even the same thing as having a license to own. Maybe you could have licenses that restrict it to home ownership, that you could have it inside of your own home. There are levels to this. But to leave people without any protection makes no sense. Personally, I believe humans should be able, in a proper system, legally constituted, to walk around with firearms. Everyone should have the ability to kill each other if they see fit. The reason you don't kill each other isn't that you don't have the ability to do it, it's that you choose not to because you are decent people living in a law-abiding society. I don't think the government's job is to nerf everything, to soften the edges of everything, so no one has the ability to harm anyone, and that's the government's job. I don't think that's their job. Your job is to make sure that if anyone harms anyone, they pay the consequences for it. An armed society is a polite society, the saying goes. Like, you look, the fact of the matter is, when I look at the videos of how home invasions occur in Trinidad, of how robberies occur in Trinidad, you see that these men have no thought that the people they're robbing could also be armed. They're running knowing that these people are not armed. The guy who jumped the wall somewhere in Kunupie, somewhere in Central recently, and as soon as the owner got into his yard, someone jumped his wall, and two of his dogs chased the man, and he got away because of his dogs. When you look at how that guy jumped into the man's yard, broad daylight, camera facing him, and he just whoops jumped the yard because he knows what he has in his hand. Once he points it at the man has nothing that could balance that back out. Each community must now hire a private security firm to watch their street. That's how they want it. Yes, it might be, but you know the strange thing about that, what's so strange about that to me, it seems like in this country, if I want a weapon to protect myself, the government doesn't want that. But if I hire a security company who goes out and hires a Jamaican or a Trini with 4 passes, not insulting the few passes, they go out and hire one of them, they go get conscripted, and they could get a firearm. I don't understand that logic. I really don't understand that logic. I just don't get it. Each community must now hire a private security firm to watch their street. That's how they want it. Sir, but RL, I could assure you, that's not what you want in a country. You do not want in a country like Trinidad and Tobago, each community privately doing security. That's not going to turn out well. It's not. It really is not. In the long run, I don't think it's a good idea. The government does not want an armed population in the case of unrest. Well, no government wants that, but I think it's a good thing. I think the government should be afraid of the people. I don't think the people should be afraid of the government. But that the reality is Trinidad comes straight from the colonial times. So we still have a country where the people of the country are afraid of the government. The government has no real fear to have of the people in Trinidad and Tobago. We were created as a docile, easily governed and manageable country in the colonial times, and we remained basically the same. The government sees about our needs. We have no need to do anything bad to the government. We keep ourselves nice and team. Not hearing me, I am humble. Queen says over on Instagram. I am not sure about that. The battery is getting low over there, so that might have something to do with it. All right, folks. If there are no further questions or comments, I think, we'd call it a night right there. We culture to complain and do nothing, Gersh says. Well, partially, yeah. I think part of it has to do with the fact that we're cultured to depend on the government too much. Yes, I am seeing you all over there on Instagram. My battery is low. That's why you aren't hearing me over there. The battery is... I hope you all could hear me now. I plugged it in. I hope the audio comes back through. White Leather says, especially true when we have to nicely ask the cop for permission to protest. Yeah, that's the setup of our country. It's how our country was set up since the colonial times. Easy to govern. No colony, no colonial power wanted another Haiti. They did not want that kind of thing. So, they wanted the country to remain. Y'all keep calm. Another Haiti or another United States, because the United States had very much the same thing, a revolution too. But in terms of complain and do nothing, Gish, I think we complain about the wrong things, and that's why I do what I do. I think when I listen to the complaints coming across from the Trinidad electorate, when you listen how the complaints are made, what the complaints are made on, I don't think we complain about the right things. That's why I disagree with Mr. Face there, who it was like, we need to stop complaining. We've been complaining too long. You listen to the complaints, and 90% of the complaints are asking for solutions that would recreate the problems. People complain about the corruption of the government, and their solution to it is give the government more power. While my solution, what I am saying, I don't know how to change that quick Sam over there on Instagram. I'm sorry if you aren't getting any audio. I'm trying to get that fixed. Yeah, while my solution is, what I am trying to talk about, what we are trying to focus on, is understanding these problems from a more accurate point of view. Looking at the fuller perspective to really see this. Understand that, okay, this isn't about the population getting guns to shoot each other, and every time somebody gets vexed, they go shoot each other, so then the government shouldn't let nobody get guns. No. Guns protect people in the governments, so guns should protect people outside of the government. If by the law we are supposed to be treated equally, then if you have firearms to protect your family, I should be able to get firearms to protect my family. That's not based on the harm in society, it's based on equal treatment in law. That's how we discuss that. And many people you recognize never even thought about it that way, because they always have that colonial mentality of safety. Safety. The government there to keep we safe, the government there to keep it. It's about how the discussion is had. White Leather said we also have to beg the barracks for fuels, and a lot of private security companies are owned by retired police. Well, that is fact. Not only retired police, some of them are still active police officers and have their security companies on the side. Police winning every which way. Yep. It's so funny. You don't get to own a weapon. The police opens his security company, as I said, get the man with minimal training. He has the links for the conscription, gets that man conscripted, and some young fellow with minimal training could own a firearm, and you have to pay the security company extra money for that young fellow with a firearm to protect your life. Yeah, makes sense. Why no MP carrying that firearms issue to Parliament? Well, it would have to be a government MP if they want to carry it to Parliament like a bill, and this PNM government has basically already announced that they are not for wider firearm use. Adriel says, we're complaining when KFC raised the prices and when other private sector implement their new rules, but never on real issues. Why no independent senator carrying this firearm issue to the Senate? Well, that's not true, Mr. Humphreys, because the independent senator Dial Singh, what's his first name? Terrence Dial Singh is the Minister of Health. The independent senator is his cousin. His first name is just slipping me. The independent senator Dial Singh recently brought this up in the parliament, but it's just how our parliament is run. An independent senator cannot make a law in our parliament. That's for the government to do. So they could bring it up as a topic of discussion, but that's all. Varma Dial Singh, right? He did bring up the issue of firearms and protection. He brought that issue up in the parliament recently. So that's what I'm saying, Mr. Humphreys. Sometimes you recognize that some of the people that talk about us complaining too much or how we should complain or what we should or shouldn't say, they aren't even paying attention. They aren't even paying attention. So yes, the issue has been brought up. The issue has been brought up by the opposition. They are members of parliament. The opposition is saying that when they come into governance, they're going to bring in place stand your ground laws and open up firearms ownership to a wider area of the population. This is the conversation. This is an important conversation. If you believe this is something that should be put into parliament, then what the opposition is saying might be something that could get you on the opposition side a little more. That's what the conversation is about. They will never do it, ever. Okay? I'm not saying they will or they will not. I'm saying what is said. That's your view. All right. Any other further comments or questions before I dive out? If there are no further comments or questions, that's all I have for now. I hope you guys were educated, informed, or entertained. I am Nathan Springer. This was the Mindful Life. I will see you guys again for the next Mindful Life, which is going to be tomorrow, Wednesday, middle of the week. And on the Wednesday, on Hump Day, we talk Tobago. We talk Tobago issues on a Wednesday. And Tobago seen a crime spike. I hope in the meantime there aren't any additional shootings in Tobago, but Tobago seeming a little hot these days. So we might be coming in hot with Tobago tomorrow. So if you're interested in that, be sure to tune in tomorrow around that 9:30 p.m. time. We'll be talking Tobago. This, as usual, has been brought to you by the Mindful Education, which is the educational institution that I run. Mindful Education, spelled with 2 L's, mindful_education. If you're looking for us over there on Instagram, we provide learning pods, which are homeschool style classes for children from the preschool stages right up to CXC. We currently have some CXC pods running on Tuesdays and Thursday afternoons. If you are interested, math and English learning pods, small classes around 6 students maximum per class, allow that familiarity. We also offer private tuition for pretty much all subjects in CXC and Cape. If you are interested, be sure to hit us up. Until tomorrow, folks, peace out, stay safe. Laters. Yep.